Welcome gamers, today we're going to be focusing on red cubes. This video's got a lot going on in it, so we'll be adding some chapters down below. Our goal today is to set up a red cube X-ray cracking factory that does not require any fluid buffers. That way we can turn it on and it'll just run and we don't have to do any maintenance. Let's get going. Alright, between the episodes, I started by setting up a small coal-powered power plant at the South Pole, just to give us a little extra power and to use up this coal vein down there. Also, I ended up removing our kickstart factory as we no longer needed it thanks to our clean shopping mall. It was just using up idle power, so I went ahead and got rid of it and cleaned it up. Today we're actually going to be focusing on red cubes, and more in particular, X-ray cracking. We'll have to actually start off by unlocking red cubes. We're going to do it up here, and to do that we'll actually need to just create some refined oil and get out about 800 hydrogen so that we can get about 400 red cubes and unlock X-ray cracking. And from there, we can actually do our X-ray cracking build, which, if we can do it right, we don't require any sort of fluid buffer at all. You can still put them in there if you like, but if we do it right, we won't need it. I'm going to go ahead and clear these trees out so we can set up our oil refinery up here, and I'll see you in a minute. And while we're doing that, I'm actually going to go ahead and unlock red cubes. All right, I think I cleared out a few trees. Also, I add this little rock to silicon thing for all the extra rocks I picked up. Just because. Now we're going to set up for our oil refinery. We need to do just a little bit of oil so that we can actually unlock X-ray cracking. I need to finish blue cubes, which will be just in a few seconds. There we go. Red cubes, they are now finished. We're going to use, for our red cubes right now, we're going to use these two oil nodes. We need about 4 oil per minute for our final factory. So this gives us about almost 6. It'll be fine. And we're going to go ahead and take a stack of each one of these. I'm going to drop down the oil extractors, and I'll be back in a moment. All right, so our oil is now all merged together. That should fill up a Mark 1 line. If not, doesn't really matter. We only need 4 per second. So now what we need to do is create just a small oil refinery area so that we can just get enough hydrogen to unlock X-ray cracking. I find 6 works out fine, although you could do less, you could do more. You know, just enough to use up whatever oil you're getting. We're gonna just quickly build together something here that works. Now, I know the title of this video probably says no storage tanks or no buffers. But, you know, we do have to use a buffer briefly just to deal with the starter point. Once we get the first 800 hydrogen, we're kind of done with buffers if everything works out properly. If it doesn't, well, this video might be completely different. Now, I'm going to set this up just so that we're very quickly doing this. It doesn't matter. It doesn't have to be pretty. It's all temporary. We're just going to output everything to one line, so we're not going to do... That was in. So we're just going to put everything on the same belt. It doesn't matter. We'll split it at the end. It would take about 8 refineries to fill up a single Mark 1 belt, but we just got 6 here. We can do that. We can look at that and say, if we're looking at the recipe, we can see that it takes 2 oil per second, and then 2 oil, and it converts 2 oil into 2 refined oil and 1 hydrogen. It does that over 4 seconds. So in order to do 2 refined oil and 1 hydrogen per second, we need 4 refineries. We're just going to be using 6. We could use 8, and then we'd be outputting a full belt. Although you could, with a full belt of oil, you could do up to 12, but you'd have to like do split belts. So we're just going to output them both on the same belt, and then up here, we're just going to split them using the same technique we've used. I don't have any storage tanks. I never prepare for anything. And we'll put 1 right here and 1 right here. Now, when you're doing this, don't forget to set the prior to the filter. Otherwise, you're going to just end up having a clog. So this way, we'll have refined oil. Actually, you know what? I don't want to do that. I want to do hydrogen into this one, because that way we'll just set up some matrix labs over here. So we'll have hydrogen come in here and our refined oil come in here. The refined oil we're not going to be using today, but we will save it and we can add it into our plastic or sulfur builds just to kind of get it going. All right, I just need some power poles. All we got to do then, make sure it's powered and hook it up. So our goal here is to get about 400 hydrogen, or sorry, 800 hydrogen. And while we're doing that, I'm going to go over and get some matrix labs. And don't forget to duplicate. And then we're going to set up a couple matrix labs. Yeah, take a stack. What the hey? Storage tank, store hydrogen for the first time. Yay! I don't know, we'll do, maybe 9. We're actually going to need some coal as well. Because as we know that red cubes take hydrogen and graphite. And we need 2 to make 1 cube. So with 6 matrix labs, you could do 2 per second, or 1 per second. It's always hard to convert the numbers. So we'll just throw some coal miners down here, hit as many as we can. It's okay. We still got to build some graphite. We'll just do 6. What's that, like 3 per second? Assume we have a full belt. And then we will just pass it down to here. And later we will set up this hydrogen. Well, in that case, if the hydrogen's right in line with that, we'll just bring the graphite here. And the hydrogen will just come straight this way. Again, we're going to take apart all of this, so it does not have to be pretty. We can go ahead and get our graphite loaded. I'm not too worried about that. Any extra we can just use for ourselves. At this point, we're just going to be waiting for this to build up close to 800. Once it gets almost 800, maybe about 750, I'll cut off the oil line just so we're not overproducing. We might get a couple extra hydrogen. No big deal. You can save it. You can use it for yourself for energy. There we go. All right, so we're going to let those things finish doing their processing, and we're going to let these cubes, we're going to produce 400 cubes, probably a little bit more, which we can save for later, just add it to the mix later. And we need to input these, because I forgot. What a shock. I could have been setting this up while I was waiting, but I didn't. And we'll just input this here. So now we're just waiting for the 400 red cubes. Then we're going to start our research. So we'll bring our red cubes along this line. And what I'm going to do temporarily is set up a little spot for our red cubes. That way we can just dump it in. It's going to do research faster than us doing it by hand. How are we doing? Almost to 400. We can go ahead and dismantle these. We don't need them anymore. We can get rid of this. Get rid of this. And I think we can get rid of that. All right. I'll see you in a moment when we have the 400. All right. The last of the red cubes just went in there. We can tear these down. We'll take the cubes. There could be a little bit of hydrogen left over. We'll just go ahead and drop them in there. We'll dump our red cubes in here. And we are going to then research X-ray cracking. This is what we need. And this one will allow us to take 2 hydrogen and 1 refined oil and turn that into 1 graphite and 3 hydrogen, which is a little weird because the refining process gives us 2 refined oil and 1 hydrogen. So it's a weird process where we're going to have to we'll get more hydrogen than we put in, but we actually need to take that hydrogen we get out and actually feed it back to itself to actually sustain the process, since we don't get enough hydrogen from our oil refinery process. But once you get it working, it actually saves you oil than just using refined oil alone to do your red cubes. Now, if you're running on a high multiplier and the oil lasts longer, I think it does, I'm not 100% sure, then you could just set up a oil refining process, a central location, and do red cubes, and you won't notice a problem. You don't have to do X-ray fracking. But if you're trying to conserve, X-ray cracking is the way to go. Let us actually research that, and while that's researching, doing it by hand, we will start on our... So today we're going to be building it like we would be doing 2 red cubes per second if you were to put this into a calculator or something like that, because we're actually going to be doing 3, but we're going to do it as 2. And that means we're going to need 4 oil per second coming in. In order to do this, we're going to need 8 refineries to convert our oil into refined oil and hydrogen, and 16 to do the X-ray cracking. Now, if we had Mark II belts, we could do this slightly differently, but since we don't, we're actually going to split it. So we're going to have 4 and 8 and 4 and 8. We're going to move over a little bit so we're not interfering with this node. We have to get some, clear out some of this. I don't have any foundations, but I'll be right back. My lack of preparedness, it demonstrates itself again. I already got it so much faster. Get that out of the way, get that out of the way, get that one out of the way. More than enough room now. All right. So we'll give ourselves some room so we don't, if we need to clear out some space over there, but I think we'll start here. We can just send 8, and we'll split it up so we can put a power pole in between 2. Now, we're going to put 3 belts in the room, so make sure you have 1, 2, 3 spaces for belts. And we just need to do 4. And we could actually do it a little fancy if you wanted to. You could do it in the middle. You could do it in the middle like this. You can do it up front like this. Oh, that's 2. No! All that talking, I can't pay attention to my own guidelines. It's just terrible. All right, that's 3. 1, 2, 3, 4. Like that. And we'll do another. We're going to have 3 spaces. 1, 2, 3. Now, I'm doing 3 spaces because we're going to do the same thing. Output everything on 1 belt. We will handle it. Don't worry about it. But if you don't like doing that, if it makes you feel dirty, then just put 5 spaces in between. And that way you can output on separate belts and it'll be totally fine. Very easy. It's very easy to adapt to this build. Actually, you know what? I'm going to do it up front. And then we're going to do like a pretty little thing in the middle just to take up that space. There we go. 1, 2. Our oil is going to come in. Oh, nice. Perfect. So our oil is going to come in here, and then we're actually going to output. You can see the things. We're going to output on this side and on this side. So we're going to have both a refined oil and a hydrogen come out in this belt. We will be producing, again, if we look at the recipe, you take 2 oil and it converts it to 2 refined oil and 1 hydrogen over 4 seconds. Since we have 4 buildings, we'll be doing 2 refined oil and 1 hydrogen per second. So we'll have a total of 3 per second come on this belt. And I know you might be saying, well, what if it clogs? Well, if we do it right, we shouldn't have a clogging problem. If we do it wrong, well, y'all can make fun of me. All right, so let's go ahead and mark this. We're going to go ahead and put an icon here. We're going to say oil, and we're going to go ahead and use the signal here. We're going to put a 4. So this is just to tell us 4 per second. Now, to deal with the mixed belt problem, we're going to go ahead and put a splitter right here and a splitter right here, and that's because we're going to put a power line in front of all of these. And we're going to come in, and we're going to do the same thing where we do just a filter. And I'm going to go ahead and mark these saying this is a mixed line. So we have refined oil. I'm not going to put the numbers, but we could. I mean, I could. It makes everyone feel better. No, just for reference purposes. Helps everyone keep track of what we're doing. All right. 1 per second of hydrogen, 2 per second of refined oil coming in each belt. So we will have our refined oil is actually, based off what my plan is, I think we'll have our refined oil go straight down. I was going to do it on this belt, but we're going to have all belts go this way anyways. Because we're going to be outputting we're going to have our refined oil come in on our incoming refined oil on one of these belts. We'll have our outgoing hydrogen on one of these belts and our outgoing graphite on one of these belts. And we're going to have our incoming hydrogen on this belt. So if that's the case, we're going to take our refined oil and output it here. And then, so this is going to be the refined oil, not that, at 2 per second. And then, so we're going to go ahead and set that filter right now so we don't forget and mix up our belts and cause a massive traffic problem. And we're going to have this belt is going to be the hydrogen at just 1 per second. Just go ahead and set these recipes and put our inputs and outputs so we can see what it looks like. So our oil's coming in here. We're going to go ahead and just belt it there, and then our output we're going to put on this line, straight this way. No filter setup, no filter. Again, if you set a 5 spacer, you can easily just have the different output lines, 1 for refined oil and 1 for hydrogen, and you could split it and you don't do it this method. If you want to do it that way, doesn't hurt anything. You'll still be able to reach the center oil line without any issue. You might have to alternate or different space these guys because I don't know if you'll be able to, I forgot if you can fit all 3 on each side if they're lined up. But this works this way, so I'm going to do it. All right, so we're just going to repeat that. There. And there. We'll go ahead and put a power pole down this line as well. Oh, gotta be clean. All right, so for here, what we're going to do here is that we are going to output our hydrogen on this line. We're going to take our refined oil in from this line. And we're going to output our graphite on this line. Make sense? Totally, totally. We'll take our hydrogen in from this line. And that is going to be our X-ray cracking. Now we need to go finish these belts over here. All right, now we can just copy this one down the line. And we'll go ahead and place some additional power poles. We got everything covered. We need to do the other side. While we're at it, I'm going to come down here and mark these belts and tell you what we're doing here. We're going to be putting, this is our refined oil belt. It ends there. So we don't need to do anything more. If we don't need to loop it around, we don't need to buffer it, we don't need to do anything. If we do it right, it's going to be fine. In this case, we're going to have a splitter right here. So the goal here is that with 8 X-ray frackers, X-ray cracking, I keep wanting to say fracking, our output, if we're doing, each one is going to be outputting 1 graphite and 3 hydrogen. Times 8, it'll give us 6 hydrogen per second and 2 graphite per second. So we'll have 6 hydrogen coming into this splitter. If we have 1 hydrogen, as we look, let's go over here. If we look over here, we said we had 1 hydrogen coming down the line here. But we need, in order to power all of these, we need 4 hydrogen per second. So we have 1 coming in here, and we have 6 coming here. So the trick here is that when everything's running perfectly, we can split it here, and we're going to have 3 come out this side, and we're going to have 3 go out this side, and we're going to set that off to our red cubes. So we're going to bring this 3 hydrogen per second, in theory, all the way down here, and we're going to merge it on like this. We're not going to use a merger or a splitter because we actually don't want it to interfere with the output from our oil refineries. If we do that, it could cause it to gunk up. So we want to make sure that the hydrogen coming from our oil refineries always has priority on the line. So this type of attachment will always make sure that the main line has priority, and this one will wait until it's got room. That means if we do ever back up the system and we have a whole bunch of hydrogen and refined oil coming out of here, the hydrogen coming out of here is going to be able to filter through first until it's cleared up, and then our output hydrogen will be able to add to the line then. So that way we don't ever gunk up our refineries and get to some sort of race condition with our production line. So let's go ahead and mark this as well. This is going to be, we're going to do this down here so we know what we're doing. Now we should have, not refined oil, not crystals. Yes, we should have hydrogen at 6 per second. Now, these are a perfect world because obviously if one of these backs up, it's going to change things. But this should work in theory regardless. And in theory, we should now have 3 hydrogen per second going this way and 3 hydrogen per second going this way. Make sense? And then we have some sort of merger. We'll actually merge this somewhere in the center here. Is this the center? No, this is the center. So we can actually merge this in the center. And we'll have the same thing on the other side. What, 1, 2, 3. We'll have like this. And that'll be graphite at 2 per second. Same thing over here. We'll have graphite at 2 per second. And then we'll build output to our matrix labs at 4 per second. Which for 3 red cubes is not enough. But we will deal with that problem. That's why when we have 3 on both sides of hydrogen, we actually have 6 hydrogen and 4 graphite. And so that means we have 2 excess hydrogen. So that's a lot of times you need a buffer in order to deal with that. But we are going to deal with that by adding graphite to the system in a smart way so that we don't have to worry about it. Come on. Get out of the way. And there. That could stop there. This can stop here and here. I'm going to mark this here again. This should be 3 hydrogen per second, although it will be higher when things back up. not 2. I can't click. And then when we get on this line, we should be at 4 hydrogen per second. That's the main goal. In a perfect world, that is the equilibrium we're going to be hitting. If we do this right, it'll just work. I'm going to set up this side the same way we just set up that side, and I'll see you in a minute. Be very careful when copying sorters. Sometimes you end up with a filter on it that you did not intend. Double check that side. All right, I think that is just about everything for that. Except we can now clear out, what, this line there? Okay, so same thing over here. I got to do this real fast. All right, I think I got everything matching up with numbers. All sorters put in, so that should be fine. So the next thing we need to do is add in our matrix slabs. Now, I also want to include a disclaimer. This setup, it works when we set it up right and we get it started right. If we let a hydrogen or graphite imbalance start, it could cause some chugging that we don't want. And if you encounter that problem or you just don't want to deal with that problem, you could move these splitters out just a little bit. And let me just get a storage tank here for demonstration purposes. And then you could put a storage tank like right here. You don't want it, well, let me go ahead and, I don't want to because I have to redo the numbers, but you could put a storage tank maybe like here before the splitter and then have the splitter afterwards. If you wanted to have a storage tank in there, just to be sure if you have a clog, you could do this. This would be fine. You could also put a storage tank like right here, maybe like right here. And that way you could have the splitter here, just like before. And then you output to the storage tank, and then output to the line. And that way the hydrogen going out to the matrix labs doesn't need a storage tank. But anything that's cycling back to the X-ray crackers, you could put it here just in case there's an overflow if you want to make sure that it keeps running. But this should only be necessary if for some reason you have more hydrogen in the system than you have graphite. If you get everything started at the right time, for the most part, the hydrogen graphite numbers within the loops within the system should be similar, and it shouldn't get imbalanced because we're only going to be outputting and be consuming the graphite and hydrogen in the equal amounts. We're going to leave a little room, so in case you need to do that, you can at least put a buffer on it. Yeah, with any luck, our numbers are going to be right. We'll be fine. And we don't have to use any buffers. Matrix labs. We are going to set up. We're going to give ourselves a little bit of room just in case that we need to correct our mistake later. And we're going to do our matrix labs. Yeah, we'll just get them over here. You can go further if you like. Let's split them out. And this is so we can bring our graphite down the middle. We are actually going to need one more splitter. We're going to do it right there. And that is because we're going to set up some graphite refineries or smelters right here. Now, since we have 6 hydrogen per second outputting and 2 graphite per second, we have enough hydrogen for 3 red cubes per second, but we don't have enough graphite. So we need an additional 2 graphite that we can bring in, but only if our graphite line, we don't want to, just like the hydrogen line, we don't want our graphite line to cause any sort of a stutter or blockage. So we're going to do the same thing where our graphite line is going to merge on, but our graphite line coming out of our cracking system will always have the priority. So it won't get blocked by our externally added graphite. Graphite produces at 1 every 2 seconds, so half per second. So 4 of these will produce the 2 per second we need additional. So we'll bring coal in maybe from here. That's why we have that coal line over there. We'll bring it over here. I could have done over there, but I just did it over here because it's more universal to a blueprint. So when I put a blueprint out, if you guys want to steal it, then this is, you can just bring in your coal from wherever. Now, we're going to need 4 graphite or 4 coal per second. So make sure you have 4 coal per second. I should mark this so we know what we're doing here. Because if we don't, we underfeed it, it could cause an imbalance that I talked about earlier because we're not bringing in enough graphite. And that could cause a hydrogen to build up in the system that we don't want because our graphite will be underfed. And then you have to do some manual clearing, which is not what we want. So as long as we're careful in advance. So I'm going to put this right here. This is going to be coal at 4 per second. So we know that. And then here we have an output of graphite at 2 per second. And we need to fix this because we need to make sure that this is just sending graphite, and then the hydrogen will come out here. You don't have to do this. You can go, you could raise the belt up and go over and then connect, then come back down and connect it if you like, if you don't like using splitters like this. I kind of like it. I don't always do it. And here I'm doing it, but it's not necessary. And then from here, we're gonna have this one taking graphite from here, this one taking graphite from here. We're going to alternate this time just to try to even it out a little bit on the sides. It's not going to do very good, but we'll take in from this side first, and then this side second. And then we'll just go ahead and alternate again. This side first, this side second. It's not perfect. Unless we had an even number of rows, it's kind of hard to decide which one gets first. And then we're going to have it output. Red cubes on this side, red cubes, red cubes, red cubes, and so on and so forth. And then we'll stack these up 3 high. Because as we said, we need 6 matrix slabs per 1 red cube per second. This is 6, 6, and 6, so we have 18. We'll just copy. There we go. We'll add some Tesla towers in the middle to make sure everything is properly powered. And this hydrogen is well going to go down here. Let's not forget this side. I think that just about does it, right? Oh, we need to take care of our red cubes. So I'm out of mergers. So unprepared. So unprepared. So unprofessional. So this simple part, obviously, no, I can't even click properly. There you go. I'm just gonna merge it. Don't have to merge it with a merger. I didn't have to do that. I could have just done whatever. Maybe down to here. We're gonna put our buffer, here, and we're gonna have an output line go that way. So we're gonna be making 3 per second, but I'm gonna go ahead and use enough to input 6 per second. That way, if it gets clogged, we can still take the full line. Same thing here. We're going to output at 6 per second so that when we have a buffer and we decide to start research, we have extra. And I'm just going to go ahead and do this non-blocking merge for just even more excess for reasons unknown, as it looks cool. And then we'll send this line all the way down. Let's go ahead and limit this for now because we need to run a test. So we'll start with this. So our goal now is to actually test this machine. We're going to start it up, get it running, and see all matrix slabs running. And once we are there and everything's running and we've let it run for a little bit, filling out this, we actually want it to shut down because we're going to pretend like we stopped researching. And when we stop researching, if we're not paying attention, you're off doing something, this thing's going to get clogged up. So we actually want to clog it up. We want to see if it can restart with no issues. So that's what we're going to do. And we'll just run this line to the research line. I know that was a heavy lift, but it's super detailed. Hopefully it makes sense. If obviously I didn't explain something very well, feel free to ask in the comments below and I'll do my best. My best to explain it. That's what we forgot. We need to bring our coal down to here. That said, we don't actually want our coal to start, our graphite to start overflowing the system first. So we're gonna plug it in a moment. It's kind of hard to time it perfectly, but we just kind of want the system starting first and then some of the cycle going. Otherwise, we're gonna basically overload this with graphite before this system has a chance to kick on and start loading graphite. So we'll turn that on when we get a little closer to full. Once it's full running, it shouldn't matter. All right, I think that is everything. So let us bring in the oil and start her up. I'm gonna go ahead and pick a fuel research as well. so that we can start getting Mark II belts. So we're going to go ahead and do the turbines, and we're going to unlock Mark II belts. We already had a few leftover cubes, that's why you see it running. Those are those ones hanging at the end there, which will never get used. All right, so this is going to go in, start powering up. I did these right? Yes. As you can see, the 2 and the 1 splitting nicely. It's a glorious thing. Honestly, I'll be honest, I almost hate mixing builds. I never find a good reason for it. So this is a little scary to do, but if it works out, I'm going to be happy with it. Still won't do it that often, but I'm hoping I'm okay. As we can see, the hydrogen back here is backing up. That's forcing more hydrogen without us even doing a priority down back towards the input line, which is what's going to kickstart more of these, get more of these refined oil used. What I'm going to do is I'm going to wait till these start kickstarting, and then I'll start adding in the graphite. Oh, there's one. Let me see this one start. All right, I think that's good enough. Close enough. We will turn on our graphite production. Let's make sure everything's powered. Everything's belted up. Again, if you don't have enough graphite here, this could eventually cause an underfeeding of graphite, and you're going to have a excess of hydrogen in the system. If done right, everything's going to even out because we'll have 6 graphite coming out, 6 hydrogen coming out, and consuming 6 hydrogen and 6 graphite. It is graphite, right? I'm not saying that wrong. Yes. Now you can see here, this is getting blocked, so whatever's on this line always has priority. Yay, Mark II belts, we're going to go do that. So whenever there's something on this line coming through, this line gets blocked. But when there's openings, it does get to come in. So this means that if this ever gets backed up and we have a full 6 per second belt coming here, this won't slow this down, causing it to cause problems further down our production line, or further up our production line, I guess I should say. But when we need the extra, it's going to fill it up, which is perfect, and that's what we want. So, at this point, our system looks running. We have all 8 running. We are cube researching. We've got this storage room, so when our line here builds up, we'll start building up our buffer here. I'm going to let this build up to 5, and then this should start shutting down. In the meantime, let's go look at doing a turbine. We need to do we want our Mark II belts and our Mark III sorters, and we can actually do that pretty easily. We'll do a better solution. We actually need to move these power poles. While we're here, we're going to do Mark II belts and Mark III sorters. We don't really need much in the way of Mark III sorters, but with what we do, it's not going to get much anyways. So we're going to put one here, and then we need to bring this in here, just like that. Now, what we need is turbines. We don't have a good way to do it, so what we're going to do is we're going to kind of cheat. We're going to do it right here, and we need more motors. We can't really use this motor because it's being used by 2 things here, and if we have multiple running, it's going to get abused. So we need to actually build a turbine right here, which is great, but we have easy access to our coils right there, but we also need a motor. So we're going to build a motor right here, and our motor is going to need the coils. Actually, you know what? We're going to have to get coils from here because we need to get iron from there, and we need gears. So we will build it here, which it's going to need some iron. Everything just fits in. So that will feed our gears into here, and it needs a power pole. We'll put one here. That should work. Actually, we're not going to do that one there. We're going to do it maybe here. We'll give you our gear. Thank you. And then this one is going to feed into here, just like that. And that way we're going to make turbines very slowly. We actually need 1 motor per second, which I don't think we're going to be producing here. Well, 1.5, because we're producing 75. We're producing like less than 0.5. We could repeat this process here. If we wanted to speed this up a little bit, we're going to be abusing our resources here. And then we can send this over here. That should make sure we get some extra. We're going to be abusing that iron. I don't know if it's going to last with all these running. All right, now comes the spaghetti. What I would like to do is actually have a storage here, but we have this red line in the way, so we're going to have to just go without it. Hopefully we'll make enough. All right, so we're just going to go up and spaghetti all the way, maybe to here, and then come down so that our belts can get some, and then go back up to here, and then back down, and just put some in there. And this will go into here. Actually, we're belting right there, so what we need to do is come along the back and output here. What I should probably do is maybe move this red line a little bit and put a storage container to buffer it a little bit. That'd be a good idea. All right, let's go check on our red cubes. How are we doing? We are buffering as expected. Our line is looking good. Everything is still running. Everything's running, no buffers. Number 8s are running and nothing's chugging along. Why aren't you running? Are you already backed up? Oh, that's why it's already shutting down. That would explain why that's 60, because it's already shutting down. All right, that's good. So our test, it seemed to be working fine until we backed up, and this is what we want. So what I'm gonna let it do now is completely back up, completely gunk up, and then when it's all shut down completely, we're gonna turn on a bunch of red research and expand our storage here, and we're just gonna let it come back to life and see if it comes back to life completely without us doing anything. I'm not gonna touch any buffers, I'm not gonna touch any lines, and if it comes back to life and is running full, all 18 matrix slabs, we'll have some success, and we need it to run for a little while. So I'm gonna let this shut down, and I'll see you when it's completely shut down. And here we are, the final breaths of life. It is shut down. It has gone dark. What will happen? Will it restart? Will it fail? Will it gunk up? Will Dan be a huge laughingstock? Find out on the next episode of Dyson Sphere Program. No, I'm just kidding. Let's do it right now. So let's go ahead and do some research, get this thing started back up. We can do Mecha Core, it's good. We can do that one. Let's get our boots. Let's get extra inventory. Let's get more drones. Let's get more energy and even more drone speed. We can get sailing so we can get out into the solar system and actually do stuff, and then get more speed. I don't know what else we can do. We can actually, our queue's full, but we can actually get the drone construction task too. That's good. That's going to get it moving. All right, we're starting to kick on, which is about to be expected because we got overflow of graphite. Here's that example I talked about earlier where, get rid of this, where we have our output line is completely full, and so it is completely blocking our extra graphite, which is what we want. We don't want to bring graphite into the system unless we need it. So in this case, we don't need it, so this line is getting completely, it's not getting blocked or in any way, shape, or form. Yay, we're gonna get a lot of research done. And here's where I talked about earlier where we wanted to make sure our output line is not blocking our oil line. So when the hydrogen comes in, it gets priority. See, it blocks this line. As long as it is coming in, it blocks. This makes sure that we're not getting a problem where this thing is getting stuck based off of our hydrogen. That's a lot of hydrogen coming from there. So in that case, that way the hydrogen's not backing up and blocking our refined oil. We're looking good on graphite. Everything is still running. What I don't want to see is any of these shutting down. If any of these shutting down, it means we have a problem. I mean, it looks like we have a full line of graphite. We have full lines of hydrogen, so we look fine so far, no problem. Our graphite lines have cleared themselves out. Our hydrogen lines are still decluttering themselves a little bit. Now, we actually need to do the kitchen sink. Problem is we have no silicon here. So we're gonna have to use stone here, and then maybe we'll come over here and we could do it here, because if we still had this by the time we did Mark II smelters, which I don't think we will, and we may not even get to Mark II or 3 assemblers here. We might be moving, because we'll have planetary logistics by then, and we can do all kinds of crazy stuff with that. But I think we could probably put it here. Oh no! We are abusing our power? We need more windmills. All right, that should cover us for a little bit longer. We need to come up with more power. But we will be going off this planet soon, right? Because we need to do processors, which we can't do here. At least not in any actual useful number. But we can do proliferators. Actually, we haven't looked at this solar system, right? We actually can look at... Yeah, let's see what we got here. All right, our measly planet. Normally what we're going to go to next is the lava planet, which... 20 million iron. That's nice. We can do our once we have some planetary logistics, we can actually do turbines and like those engines or motors over there. There's lots and lots of iron. That'll do good. And we got our titanium over there, which we're gonna have to go manually pick up and bring over here for yellow cubes, I think. And we need to be able to do planetary logistics, so we'll need some iron. Silicon. Usually what I'll do on the lava planet, since solar is usually really good, is I'll just usually take the silicon and set up a small solar plant and just build solar panels, because that's usually it's just one small set of nodes for silicon. And then I usually go to the outer planet and set up my processors. And oh no, is that it? That's all the silicon we have in the system? Is it 500,000? Oh no! Oh goodness! I'm used to having a ton. I did not do a very good check on this starter seed, did I? Oh boy! Oh boy! Yeah. That's all we got? Oh man! Oh, we got to get out of this system. We have to get out of here. Oh, I don't know. I've always had plenty, so you can usually get like everything. You can get white cubes in your starter system. Now that means that we got to do our processors in lava. Solar panels be damned. Well, that changes things. Okay. Well, I guess we need to go get some silicon set up here. I don't know. I mean, even if we wanted to, I don't think we can use this. There's a lot of stone, but I don't think we could do this in any significant amount to make a difference. Because you got to do like 10 smelters just to get 1 silicon ore per second. And that's a lot of stone. That's 10 stone per second to make 1 silicon ore per second. So to make... that means you need like 20 smelters just to make 1 silicon ingot, or whatever it's called, high purity silicon. So to make 1 high purity silicon means we need 20 smelters or 20 stone per second. So to do it in any kind of significant numbers is just not very feasible. Yeah, so we're gonna have to really optimize our red and yellow, our yellow research, so we can get over to, what is it, gravity lenses or whatever you can make warpers from? What is that? What do we need to get out of this system? Obviously, we want interplanetary logistics in some degree. We need to be able to make it, but we need this thing. We need to make these, which I don't think... we only need yellow research to get over to it, but we need to be able to make these, which deuterium's not too hard, but we need to be able to make these, which we need turbines and graphene. So turbines, we can do pretty easily on the lava planet. Graphene, we don't have any fire ice. We do have an ice giant here, but getting to orbital collectors is not really happening. I mean, it could, but it's going to be a lot harder. So what we can do is just make graphene from oil here. So if we can make graphene here and turbines on the lava planet, we should be able to produce something together to produce. And we got to get some yellow research done. And then that way we can make warpers, and then maybe we can get the heck out of Dodge. So, but other than that, everything seems to be running. All 16 crackers are running. All 8 refineries are running for the oil. And look at that. Some of you might have thought this would gunk up, but look, it's working just fine. And if you're like, no, I knew this would work all along. Well, then you were right. You were a genius. Now I just need to pretty this up, and we're going to end this episode. If you learned something good in this episode, hit the like button. Comment down below with your questions, your your compliments or your complaints. Also, if you don't know what to say, you could just say thanks, Jace. It helps a lot. I'm not Jace, but I'm sure Jace, it would appreciate it. That's it. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time.